Hey everybody, this is Mr. McKee with Net225. Today I'm going to be going over Packet Tracer 11.6.1, which is switch security configuration. Now, I do have up my workspace on the right-hand side browser and the instructions on the left browser. Looking at this topology, we have two local area networks. One's connected with switch 1 to 4 PCs, the other one switch 2, 4 PCs, and then from the switches up to a layer 3 switch. Alright, and those are two trunk ports, and then in the lab we'll be making another trunk port across the center. Alright, so 4 access ports for these PCs on each switch, 2 trunks, and then a trunk between switch to switch. Alright, looking at my VLAN addressing table, we'll have 5 total VLANs. Alright, you can see like VLAN 10 is admin, that's the interfaces and the network. Alright, and then same thing for all the rest of them. You'll have a native VLAN on your 2 gigabit interfaces. Alright. And then switch to, I'm just looking at these, make sure they're right. Now, this is a typo right here. That should be F02, F01, and F02. Let's see. All the other interfaces, everything else looks about the same. VLAN 100 native, that shows it doesn't have any interfaces. I'll have to look at that when we get in there. But it's a pre-configured network, but it's just partially configured. Alright, so the background, you are enhancing security on 2 access switches in a partially configured network. You will implement the range of security measures that were covered in this module according to the requirements below. Note that routing has been configured on the network, so connectivity between hosts on different VLANs should function when completed. Alright, if you notice I can't click on the layer 3 switch, that's blocked. If I click on switch 1, you'll see a bunch of log messages with VLAN mismatch errors, things like that. If I go to enable show run, you can see my version, host name, spanning tree, PBST modes on, Ethernet, fast Ethernet 01, switch port access VLAN 10, mode access. Alright. This is kind of like a red flag right here. Fast Ethernet 02, switch port access VLAN 10, switch port mode trunk, which that should not be like that. Fast Ethernet 010 has switch port access VLAN 20, that's fine. Go down to 24, switch port access VLAN 99. Alright, 2 gigabit interfaces. Alright, interface VLAN 99 has a MAC address assigned to it, and what's kind of weird, okay, management. What's weird though, this has IP address 192.168.1.10, which is very strange because that's not on any of these networks. But we'll keep an eye on that. Alright, and that's it for that one. Alright, switch 2. Bunch of log messages on there. Let's go to enable, show run. Alright, host name, version, spanning tree mode, PBST, fast Ethernet 01, switch port access VLAN 10, mode access. See on this one, interface fast Ethernet 02 is on VLAN 10 and switch port mode access, not trunk. Fast Ethernet 010, switch port access VLAN 20, switch port mode access, that's fine. Fast Ethernet 024 is on VLAN 99. Alright, and that is it for that. Alright, so we see a couple little issues there. We have a little bit of typo there. Hopefully we'll be able to get through it. Alright, so let's get on to this thing. Alright, step 1, create a secure trunk. Now, even though this didn't look that detailed, are in depth, it actually kind of is. And I like to make a notepad to kind of like write down what I'm doing or what I've done. So we have switch 1, switch 2, and even if these, my notes I make might not be the exact configuration command, but it's going to keep everything straight, hopefully. All right, and you guys will understand, because what this does, it goes through the steps, but it keeps going back to the same step. So if you do these in one shot, especially on each switch, it might be a lot easier to follow, and you won't leave out anything by accident. All right, so we've got a partially configured network we're working on. All right, so first thing we want to do, we're going to connect the gigabit 02 ports on the two access layer switches, which is 0 access layer switches. All right, now we go down to, we can't click on the automatically choose connection type. We want to actually pick the actual correct cable, which switch to switch is a copper crossover cable. All right, and it goes from gigabit Ethernet 02 to gigabit Ethernet 02. The reason being, if you're doing switch to switch, that has to do either your orange pair to your green pair, which transmit receive, or green to orange to make a crossover cable. The powers are the same, but if you're going from PC to switch, those are already configured where it'll communicate. I know it has auto MDIX, but on the new switches, but just understand, use the correct switch, so you don't really make everything more confusing than it already might be. All right, so switch to switch are always crossovers because it has to go from transmit to receive, or if you do PC to PC without a switch or anything in between, that also has to be a crossover. So like if you're gaming between two PCs without a switch, you have to do crossover cables. All right, in this case, this layer 3 switch is acting as router ports, so it has a straight through cable connected to it. But if that was switch to switch, that would be crossover cables also. Just understand that, and that's the reason I'm using a crossover versus a straight through. All right, so let's get started with this. All right, so configure ports gigabit 01 and 02 as static trunks on both switches. All right, so interface, I'm going to do a range so I can do it over again 2 times, 01 through 2. That's going to be switch mode trunk. All right, and then disable dynamic trunking protocol negotiation on both sides of the link. So switch port non-negotiate or no negotiate. If I spelled that wrong, I can come back to it on the switch. All right, and then create VLAN 10 and give the name native on both switches. So I can do switch port mode trunk, switch port trunk VLAN trunk native VLAN 100. Switch port mode trunk, switch port trunk native VLAN 100. Okay. So that configure all trunk ports on both switches to use VLAN 10. All right, see, we have our 2 trunk ports on each. So I can pretty much copy that and paste that. So that's going to be our step 1. Now let's go ahead and enter it. Let's just verify. Connect the 2 ports. We've done that. Configure these as status trunks. Switch port mode trunk. Disable DTP negotiation. Switch port non-negotiate. and then create VLAN 10, name native. Okay, so switch port trunk native VLAN 100. All right, so all those are good. Now I'm going to do that. I'm going to stop right there before I go on. Now I will overlap a little bit, but I want to get these entered. All right, so let's configure terminal. All right, so switch port. Oh, I'm sorry, interface range gigabit 0, 1 through 2. Switch port mode trunk, so static trunk. All right, switch port trunk native VLAN 100. So I'm putting them on VLAN 100 as the native VLAN, and switch port no negotiate. Always say non-negotiate, but it's actually no negotiate. All right, so that's on that switch. All right, now switch 2. And I could have actually copied in those commands off of my notepad, but let's do configure terminal first. Interface range. All right, so the range of gigabit 01 through 02, switch port mode trunk. And if you guys get that, see I'm getting these log messages. If you hit tab, it'll bring you back to where you were, because you might keep getting log messages over and over again. And instead of trying to retype it out every time, just hit tab and it'll bring you back to where you were. So switch port mode trunk. I did already. Okay, switch port mode trunk. All right, and then switch port trunk native VLAN 100, and switch port no negotiate. Okay, so both of those are done. All right, we should close those down. All right, so the next thing we need to do is shut down all unused switch ports on switch 1. So switch 1 interface range. Fast F0, 01's used, 02, 03 through 09. All right, F010's used, so F11 through 24 is the next one that's used, so 23. All the gigabit ports are used already, so we're going to shut that down. All right, same thing, let's see. Shut down all switch ports on switch 1, or all unused switch ports on switch 1. And again, I could have copied that out of Notepad, but I'm just going to do it in here. Come on. There we go. Exit. All right. Interface range F03 through 9, comma, fast Ethernet 011 through 23. All right, that range is good. Shut that down. So all those are shut down. It gives me verification through log messages. All right, let's see what we got now. On switch 1, create a VLAN 999, name it black hole. All right, the configured name must match the requirement exactly, so it's case sensitive. All right, so we're going to make a VLAN 99 name black hole. So it's X. Whoops. VLAN 99 name black hole. All right, so like that. That's our VLAN. All right, so Move all unused switch ports to the black hole VLAN. All right, probably the best way to do that. Let's go back. Let's do that. Interface range, VLAN. Let's exit out that, exit out that. Let's do a show run. Okay, so all my interfaces right now that aren't used are on VLAN 1, so we put them on VLAN 99. Alright. Alright, so let's also, these are all the unused, I'm going to say unused ports. Alright, so I'm going to do let's enable, and let's go to our AT. Alright, switch port access. Alright, so there we go. Now let's do a exit show VLAN brief. Alright, so now if you notice VLAN 1 no longer has all these unused ports in there. They're all on the black hole. So if somebody hooks up to all those ports, they're actually shut down also, but they would be on a VLAN that doesn't send any traffic. All right, so that one's good. All right. All right, so we're done with step 2. So activate port security on all active access ports on switch 1. Okay, so this is where it gets confusing if you try to do this all together. Activate port security on all active access ports. So not trunk ports, but access ports. So that's going to be access ports. So we got interface range. Golly, I can't type. Range F01 through 2, F010, and F024. Alright, so those are our active ports. 1, 2, 10, 24. Alright, gigabit 01, 02 are trunks. Okay. Alright, so what do I want to check first? I kind of believe it, but let me see. Fast Ethernet 01 is already a switch port mode access. 2. Alright, so we're going to have to fix this anyways. The switch port mode trunk. Okay, and then 10's right and 24 is right. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do Control C to get out there, configure terminal. Alright, so I want to do this interface range to set all these active ports to, I wish I could scroll up a little bit. Interface range. F0, whoops, F0, come on, F01 through 2, F010, F024. All right, that range, I'm going to say switch port mode access. Because you remember, switch port F02 had an issue. It was already trunk port. All right, so then let's do switch port security. Okay, port security is on now for all 4 of those 4 ports. All right, configure active ports to allow a maximum of 4 MAC addresses to be learned on the ports. So switch port security maximum 4. All right. Oh, I can't do them all at the same time. Well, that's great. Configure active ports to allow. All right, so I didn't get out of that one. All right, interface fast Ethernet 0. One. Okay. Statically configure MAC address of the PC using port security. Statically configure the MAC address of the PC using port security. Okay. Switch port security. Address sticky. All right, and now we're going to configure each active access port so it will automatically add the MAC address learned on port to the running config. Oh, so that was actually that was sticky. Okay, so F01. If my keyboard would work, come on now. Okay, so we statically assign it. It's going to be that MAC address. This is where this gets a bit confusing. All right, so I wanted to do everything at one shot. I couldn't, but now I want to do. All right, I activated port security on all the access ports, and then configure active ports to be learned on the ports. I've done that. For ports F01 on switch 1, statically configure the MAC address of the PC using port security. Okay. Come on. Switch port security. MAC address 00.11e8.ports.3ccbb. So that's the MAC address. All right, I'm statically entering that. Found duplicate. Okay. Found duplicate address. 11E8. Well, MAC address sticky has already assigned it, so maybe I shouldn't worry about it. All right. I'll come back to that if that needs to be put in there, but let's do show run. So I think I need a new battery in my keyboard. All right, let me power this off. Sticky. That's really not what I wanted to do for that, but that might work, but let me take it out. You can see I have maximum 4 MAC addresses for all my access ports. Alright, so my keyboard finally started working. So I want to take out this right here. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna let me leave that in there for now. It shouldn't be an issue. But that's the current that's entered. Alright. Configure terminal interface units 0, 1. I'm going to use switch port. Sticky 0.0.11E8.3CBB. And MAC address sticky, and then switch port security MAC address 010.1E8.3CBB. 3CBB. All right. All right, let's exit out that. Show run. Alright, so that's how it should look, not MAC address sticky on the... Alright, so that is correct right there. Alright, that's how this gets confusing. Alright, so... So we just did that. Statically configure the MAC address of the PC port. This is MAC address sticky right here. Our maximum 4 for ports. Statically configure the MAC address of the port using port security. That's that. Alright, configure each active access port so it automatically add the MAC address learned on the port to the running config. That's the MAC address sticky. Alright, configure the port security violation mode to drop packets from MAC addresses that exceed the maximum. Generate a syslog entry, but not disable the ports. So we're going to do switch port security violation restrict. And we're going to do that on all the active ports. Big T. Well, my interface range is gone. Alright, interface range. What is it? F01 through 2, F010, F024. Alright, that should be good. Switch port security violation restrict. Okay. Drop packets from MAC addresses that exceed the maximum, generate login tree, and but do not disable the port. So restrict, but do not disable. All right. So configure the trunks. Configure the trunk ports on switch 1 as trusted ports. All right. So let me exit out of that. Interface range. If it makes more sense to you, you can do these one by one, but gigabit 01 through 2. I'm going to do both of those trunks as the same. All right, so let's do IP DHCP snooping. All right. Configure as a trusted. IP DHCP snooping trust. All right. Limit the untrusted ports on switch 1 to 5 DHCP packets per second. Okay, limit the untrusted ports, so all the other active ports. Which are these? IP DHCP snooping. Limit. And the rate's going to be 5 per second. Okay. And right here it says, don't worry about the DHCP snooping configuration might not score properly in packet tracer. That's fine. All right, so limit the untrusted ports on switch 1 to 5 DHCP packet per second. That's set. All right, switch to enable DHCP snooping globally for VLANs 10.20.99. So enable your key. IP DHCP snooping. IP DHCP snooping for VLAN 10.20.99. Okay. And the next thing, configure PortFast and BPDU guard. So enable PortFast on all the access ports that are in use on switch 1. So all the access ports are the 4 ones we were just doing. All right, so we're already on those right now. So I'll go back to this. Just to make sure we're in the right place, I'll start there. All right, so spanning spanning tree port fast. So that enables port fast on there. And spanning tree BPDU guard enable. All right, so that should be good. Configure switch 2 so that all access ports will use port fast by default. So let's do spanning port fast default. Okay. Now we're at 91%. Let's take a look and see what we got. All right, that was where I made that change. So sticky enabled, incorrect. Sticky enabled. So let's go and fix this first. Switch 1 fast Ethernet 10. All right, so all the active ports need VLAN, need sticky enabled. Security. All right, so that one's fixed. And let's see. So VLAN 100 and 99 are not named on switch 1. Right. 100 and 999. And that's an easy fix. Let's do an end. Config T VLAN 100 name native VLAN 99 name black hole. All right, something in there is not right. Okay, switch to VLAN 100 is not named. Native. All right, so that's fixed. Yep. Sometimes you have errors. That's fine. As long as you can go in there and fix them. Now everything should be working good. Now the one thing I want to check though, remember on here, let's do end, show run. All right, remember fast Ethernet 02 was set to trunk is set to active. Port security, maximum 4 MAC addresses, MAC address sticky, so it remembers the MAC addresses, violate restrict, port fast, BPU guard enabled. All right, so everything's good. All right, so on this, there's no questions on the activity. All you need to do is submit your results showing that you get 100%, and then your .pka file, and upload that to Moodle, and you should be good. Thanks for watching.